Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial video. This is Ashton from MuseThemes.com. Today we're going to do a walkthrough of our new row scroll gallery widget from Muse. This is a gallery widget that offers some really unique motion effects. As the user scrolls down the page, there's animations that take place within the gallery. If the site visitor changes the direction of the scroll, the animation will reverse direction, and this makes the gallery highly interactive and engaging. Now we've included 8 different display modes, and each one is quite unique, so it's kind of like having 8 entirely different galleries here at your fingertips. Our demo here only shows 3 of the 8 display modes. Now before we dive in, I want to mention that the images are loaded and organized in Airtable, and this is similar to how our Connect series of widgets work, except we're using Airtable instead of Google Sheets. We'll discuss Airtable more later in the video, but we think you're really going to love how easy and fun it is to use. For now, let's dive right into Muse. I've got our project file for the live demo that we just saw with the widget removed. So let's jump into our library, grab the widget, and drop it onto our page. And I'll go ahead and center it on the page here as well. I'm also going to give this a little bit of extra height just so we have more space to work with. So let me bump this up to 800. And let's open the widget settings panel. Our very first option is Airtable API URL. This is how we link the gallery to our Airtable. Now I've already got a URL copied, so I'm going to paste that in right now. And to keep this video neat and tidy, I'm actually going to split this into 2 parts. So we're going to start with the widget setup right now, and then we're going to cover the Airtable template. When we're in Airtable, I'll make sure to show you how to get the Airtable API URL. Now the next option is Airtable View Name, and we'll leave this set to Gallery. For gallery mode, this is where we can set the display mode of the gallery. Now we saw 3 examples of these in the demo, but we have 8 here to choose from, which is cool. For now, let me select rotated. For thumbnail click action, this sets the behavior for when your site visitor clicks on a gallery image thumbnail. You can set it to lightbox, which will open a lightbox that acts like a slideshow. You can also set it to external link so that the thumbnail opens a link to somewhere else. And finally, you can set it to none if you don't want any action upon click. The next 2 settings allow us to set a background color for the gallery and an opacity. Now right now the opacity is set to 0, so it'll make the background transparent, and this will probably be best in most cases. Now the rest of the sections here in the settings panel contain individual customization settings for each of the gallery modes. Now since we selected the rotated gallery mode, let's look at those settings. We see that we have a setting for column count and item spacing. Now the default values here look pretty solid, so I'll leave those as is. And I'm not going to run through each of these sections for the different gallery modes, but each one will contain a different set of settings. Some have several settings, some have just one, but these settings are intended to help you dial in the look and feel of the gallery. And the settings are labeled with their exact function, so they're pretty self-explanatory. And we've already selected default values that'll look pretty good right off the bat. So we're set up pretty well here with this basic gallery example. Let me go ahead and give it a preview. And as I scroll the page, I see the rows in the gallery sliding, and when I scroll back up, they slide in the other direction, looking pretty cool. Now at this point, you can try out the other gallery modes too and check those out if you'd like. But for now, let's dive into part 2 of the tutorial and discuss the Airtable template. If we jump into the settings panel of the widget here, we have a link near the bottom of the widget panel that'll connect you with a template that we've already prepared. So let's give that a click. Now when you click this link, you may need to log in or sign up with Airtable, but once you've got that squared away, you'll automatically see our template ready to go. Now this template will not be editable, so you'll want to duplicate it, and we'll do that by clicking on the small arrow up here next to the name at the top. There we go. And now we can edit this Airtable base. Now before I load any images, I'll give you a quick overview of this base. Airtable bases are a little like spreadsheets, but they're a lot more friendly. You can set different view types for your base, as you can see down here on the bottom left. But the template is set to gallery by default, so we'll leave it like that for now. And going back to our widget options, you'll recall that we have an Airtable view name field that we left as gallery. This needs to match with the view name that we have set over here in Airtable. Again, in this case, the view name is gallery, so it matches our widget setting, and these 2 names must match. So if you have any trouble seeing your gallery images upon preview, make sure that the view name matches what you have in the widget options. And gallery is always the preferred view type in Airtable anyway, as it relates to our needs, so it's best to leave that as is. So next, let's look at how to load in images. It's literally as easy as dragging and dropping our own images into the image column. Now your template will already come pre-filled with images, as you can see here. So before adding your images, you'll want to delete the default ones. Let's click on the first image. And over here, we can click on the trash can icon to remove the image. And of course, I'd want to repeat that process for all of the default images. But next, to drop in my own image, I literally just drag it and drop it into this cell. I've got one prepared over here, so let's drop it in like so. And it's that simple. Just drop in an image for each spot in the image column. That's the heart of setting up the Airtable, but before we go, let me explain the other columns. Next to image column, we have image URL. This column is intended to provide a fallback for the images that you've placed in the image column. Now, it's not a requirement, but this is a best practice that you can utilize in case there's any failure with the images in the image column. And you'll need to host these images somewhere else and paste direct links. But again, this is optional. External URL. This sets the link location when the site visitor clicks on a thumbnail, but for this to work, you'll need to set the thumbnail click action in the widget setting to external link to make the links work. Redirect target. This sets the link behavior, so you can set that it opens in the same tab or in a new tab. And finally, before we finish, let me show you how to get the Airtable API URL. This is a key step because this is what links the widget with Airtable. So first, I'm going to go to airtable.com/API. We'll select the base that we created when we duplicated the template. We'll click over here to Authentication from the sidebar menu. We'll want to tick the box titled Show API Key. And finally, we'll copy the URL that we see here under Example Using Query Parameter. And we'll want to copy only the URL. Don't copy the $curl. And that's it. Back to our widget panel, we'll simply paste this URL in the Airtable API URL field. A couple more small things I want to mention before I close out. If you have any trouble getting your gallery linked with Airtable, here are the things that you can double check. First, make sure you've copied just the Airtable API URL without copying any of those extra characters or spaces. Also, when you paste the URL into the widget, look at the beginning and end of the URL to make sure there aren't any spaces in the field. Next, ensure that you've checked the Show API Key box in Airtable. And also ensure that the Airtable view name is set to gallery, and make sure that the Airtable view name field in the widget is set to match. Just like our Connect series of widgets, this gallery is fully dynamic. This means that you can update the gallery without even opening Muse or republishing your site. So here's an example. Say I have a gallery set as my homepage hero, and I want to replace a few images in the gallery. All I have to do is open Airtable and replace the images there. And just like that, the gallery on the homepage will automatically load the new images. So that's our row scroll gallery widget for Muse. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Reach out to support if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll catch you all in another tutorial very soon. Cheers.